Brought to you weekly by Gannon University's Erie Technology Incubator. In partnership with the Corey Higher Education Council, the Erie Technology Incubator, located at 900 State Street, works in the entrepreneurial ecosystem and provides technical assistance through the entrepreneurial process. This show features members of this ecosystem and the entrepreneurs in the Erie area. Welcome to Community Chronicles Radio. If you have a question for us or any of the guests here in the studio, give us a call. The number is 814-679-1080. I am Dr. Matthew Plotz, and as we have the last few weeks, we are continuing to send well wishes and prayers to our beloved co-host, Steph Scroose. She is still recovering from surgery with breast cancer. So we here at Community Chronicles appreciate the well wishes that you may be sending as she battles. I'm told, I've talked to her, she's in good spirits. I'm told that it sounds like she might be back next week for next week's show, so we're excited about that. I appreciate our listeners sticking with us last week as we talked about the big projects taking place in Corey. There's a true sense of enthusiasm and optimism throughout the city as we begin to get ready for the installation of the fiber internet. Today, we are back to the regularly scheduled programming as we speak to the area's entrepreneurs. I'm happy to introduce our first guest this morning, CEO and co-founder of Glacier Scalp Cooling, Justo Hernandez. Good morning.
Good morning. Great to see you both, too. This is Brad.
We got to move up that mic, Brad. You can move it. You can physically move it.
Okay.
All right. Are you going to do the first question? You going to go ahead with that?
So Justo, I'm glad you could be with us today. Tell us a little bit about your business and how you have cultivated that in Erie.
Yeah, so we are Glacier Scalp Cooling, and we are developing a portable and wearable scalp cooling system for cancer patients during chemotherapy. So really it helps them prevent hair loss as they undergo chemotherapy. And one of our big key advantages we have is we allow for treatment continuity. So the patients can start their scalp cooling treatment at the infusion center, and then they can complete this or continue this till when they get home. For here in Erie, one of our biggest helps here for us has been the Erie Tech Incubator. They've been incredible for Glacier Scalp Cooling in terms of having weekly and bi-weekly meetings with them where we kind of give them progress updates. And at the end of that, they really just go with, how can we help? And they've been with us every step of the way through this journey, and they've been great for us. It just really gives us peace of mind knowing that we always have somewhere to turn and ask for help.
So when did you start thinking that this was something beyond how it started? Because I know, just for the viewers, I know this first was a project, but if you can give us a timeline and how this evolved into a business, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So this idea really originated from my co-founder, Evan Fizzler. So during his junior year, he was going through his biomass heat transfer course, and he came across anatomical cooling of certain body parts, and this included scalp cooling. And he really made this connection between his mother, or his grandmother, who was a cancer survivor, and he saw the impact this had on her in terms of losing her hair, and connected the two together, where he then proposed it to be a senior design project. And I was just fortunate enough and lucky enough to be put upon that project. And throughout that year, our group worked on researching this, and we pitched at the Beehive Showcase, where we won and earned 6 months rent-free at the Erie Tech Incubator. And really, since then, the company was founded in 2022. We filed a provisional patent application to protect our technology, and we've just been conducting customer interviews with cancer survivors, hearing their story to help integrate into our final product. And we've worked with Ben Franklin, who gave us a $10,000 pre-seed grant to help us accelerate R&D. And that's really the big thing there, where we're at now.
I'd kind of like to back up just a little bit because this is fascinating to me. How did the idea come to be, the research that kind of supports the idea that the hair loss is caused by the heating of the scalp, and how your product kind of overcomes some of the issues?
Sure, yeah. So chemotherapy is a systemic drug or treatment. So it targets all rapidly dividing cells found within the body. And some of the most rapidly dividing cells happen to be our hair cells. And as I mentioned, chemotherapy is systemic. So it can't differentiate between these cancerous cells and these healthy hair cells that we have. So by cooling the scalp to temperatures between 68 and 72 degrees Fahrenheit, we reduce the rate at which those cells divide due to that cooling. So now these fast dividing hair cells are no longer these rapidly dividing cells. They're what's the word here? They're reproducing slower, so they're less likely to be targeted. And that's really one of the main key things there. And the second thing that happens is vasoconstriction. So it's the narrowing or reducing of the blood vessels to the scalp. So now we are getting less chemotherapy drugs to the scalp area. And on top of that, with them less likely being targeted, the hair cells, it kind of prevents this hair loss during chemotherapy.
Yeah, you know what I understand in your technology, not only did you focus on that from a technology standpoint, cooling, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you've also worked really hard on thinking of the continuity of care with the device. So talk a little bit more about how you wanted to make sure that that did the most for the patient.
Yeah, that's a great question. So really, our differentiating factor is the portability and wearability of our device. And this is an important aspect because this allows the patient to have the device with them before their first chemotherapy treatment. So once they get to the facility, they already have the device. They can start the pre-cooling process and then continue to scalp cool during infusion. And this is the big part here, is they can leave directly after their infusion center ends. So with other devices out there, they have to stay around the infusion center an extra 90 minutes before they can leave the facility. And with our device, they can leave directly after, save that 90 minutes, and continue scalp cooling on their way home. And one other, I guess, important things to note is the pharmacokinetics of the drug. They stay within the body up to, 3 days. So with our device, we're really able to scalp cool on day 1, day 2, and day 3 to yield better results.
That's impressive. And so I've had the benefit working with you, Justo. I've seen some of the technology, and this is right where it's going, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of it was stationary, and now you're seeing the ability to at least wrap, right? And so I see mobility as the next frontier, and I think that's been really interesting. I'm going to pivot a little bit to as an entrepreneur, you have a really interesting story. You, Evan, and you have another business partner literally in med school. Mm-hmm. So if you can, and I think Matt took the right approach by asking for some detail around the technology, can you give some detail about how you've had to manage schooling, being a technology developer, and then the pursuit of funding? Because there's quite a juggle there I think the listeners would want to know about.
Yeah, so
it's a loaded question.
As Red mentioned, so I work part-time at LECOM. I also am a part-time grad student at Case Western, where I'm pursuing my master's in biomedical engineering. And then on top of that, I meet weekly with Evan Fizzler, my co-founder, to further develop this product. And it's really been quite a challenge to balance all of this with the incorporation of just having a normal life, doing personal things. Really, every day of the week, I am working from when I wake up to when I go to bed, and that's really all I do. I just wake up, I go do my schoolwork during this block, or I go to LECOM during this block and do testing there, and then I have scheduled meetings with Evan, depending on his schedule, because he also works out in Indiana, and we usually meet in the evenings there, and it's just really just juggling a schedule around and putting in blocks to do a certain task at that time.
It's been really neat to watch you in this process get married, number one. Mm-hmm. Evan's engaged and has a dog.
Just married
he just got married
just a few weeks ago, coming back from his honeymoon.
Oh, that's awesome. And on top of that, kind of the last part of the question that I get to appreciate often is not only get to see the great network of companies that you've talked to, the City of Erie, the county, Ben Franklin, and SBDC, both in the area and in Pittsburgh. You're constantly chasing dollars to build what they call a capital stack. Can you talk a bit about how you have to kind of lean in on that and how it consumes some of your time?
Yeah. So our approach here for funding has been first half of the year, we focused on applying for accelerators. So these are usually about like a 10 to 15 week course, depending on the accelerator, where we receive a X amount of dollars and receive help from their accelerator and their team of professionals. We didn't have any luck this round going through, so that was our first approach. And then our second approach is now looking at the government funding and the government dollars there. So we met with the program manager at National Cancer Institute, where we kind of wrote them up an executive summary, described what our objectives and goals are for the company and the our research there, and we received really good feedback. And that's one of the options that we're exploring right now. On top of that, we're working with Richard down in Duquesne, SBDC, and we're going to be reaching out to NSF there and kind of doing a similar thing to get their feedback to see what they think of our technology and if it yields a government funding proposal. So that's really the two big things there. We did accelerators early on, and we've done a little bit of outreach to VCs and angel investors, but didn't have much luck.
And think about growing the technology and then having to do all of that and going to school and getting married. It's quite a juggle. How do you manage your time?
Yeah. Like as I mentioned before, it's kind of more just like that block scheduling. I just know that I have to do X amount of tasks by this day or time, so I just put everything on my Google Calendar, mark this due date, and then just kind of mentally go through how long it's going to take me, put it in my calendar, and just go through and do it. Just late night sometimes. Some days I'm done early. It just varies per day.
No matter the product, this is kind of a universal truth with entrepreneurs, right? That there's a different level of hustle that you have to have. You are not working in 8 to 4 or 9 to 5, right?
Yeah.
Right. So one of the things that we talk about a lot here on this show is the entrepreneurial process and the steps along the way. One thing I'm curious about, when you're in this space, have you ran into any of the regulatory issues? Is that something, you're working with government to try to find funding, but is there any hurdle that you're experiencing that they kind of put in place for something like this?
Yeah, so we're not quite at that point yet where we're going to be having that difficulty with the regulatory hurdles, but we will be classified as a Class 2 medical device, so we will need to receive FDA approval and have preliminary data to show the safety of our device, and as well as going through a clinical trial to show efficacy. But we're not quite there yet until we get that MVP, and then we'll be facing that challenge there.
What was interesting is you've gone through some earlier steps to get ready for Matt's question, right? And
Yep.
Where's your next regulatory hurdle? Can you talk about how you did customer discovery? Because there's a whole bunch of things you've done along the way that might be useful for listeners who have a business and need to do customer discovery.
Yeah. So for customer discovery for us, our biggest step was to identify if there is a problem or a need for our product. So what we did here is we did an outreach to our internal network just to see if there's any cancer survivors that we could speak to. And what we did, we just kind of sat down and just wanted to hear their stories. Not really an interview way, just we had some questions lined up, but we just really wanted to hear their story, the patient's journey, the process of being told you're diagnosed with cancer. What are those feelings like? And then
Wow.
what steps after that?
Hard question.
Yeah, it was tough at times, but what steps after that did they have to go through? Did they have chemo? What was it like losing your hair that first moment? And we really just wanted to hear their story to really understand the problem that we're having. And then from there, we've done this similar thing at Relay for Life. I went there 2 years. We kind of did a little bit of customer discovery there, had a little booth out there. And then the following year, I just wanted to give back some of my time to Relay for Life because they allowed us to do customer discovery the year before.
Right.
So I just went through and did some not product photography, but just some photography and photos for the event for them and gave that to them as a thank you there.
Yeah.
So it's really just on the customer side, just talking to the patients, or in our case, our end user, and just hearing their story to help refine it. We're going to have to do a similar thing here with just medical professionals to make sure that it integrates within their workflow at the infusion center.
Well, I'm going to jump on and say that there's another piece that I remember participating in where you were testing the cap on my head.
Yeah.
and that's really important, right? It's not just fit, but you were also trying to understand when it got uncomfortable and where,
Oh.
so you were doing a lot of calibration along the way, and being the engineer that you are.
Yeah.
You took painstaking efforts to make sure that it went well, but I remember you even doing the collection of the technology on real scalps, and that was a critical part, not necessarily customer discovery as it was testing your technology, but the human piece is very time intensive. And what a process to make sure you were building a solution for a human being that really gave you feedback. So that was really helpful.
I just, as listening to you and you doing your customer discovery and everything that comes into this, the thought that I have is, I've never experienced that diagnosis. So but I think everybody on this planet has been touched somewhere by that. They know people who have gone through it, and I'm fascinated by your idea and product just simply because there are so many people, and I would say especially women, that they're given a tough diagnosis, and a lot of times, you have to deal with that. And then you have to deal with these other issues that come with it. And the hair loss for women is probably one of the tougher things.
Absolutely.
Our own co-host here, Steph, having to go through all of that. Breast cancer, she's had chemo, she's had surgery. There's just, on top of the issues that you're dealing with, you're losing a part of yourself, your femininity.
Yeah.
And I think that this product is important for that. And I'm just fascinated and impressed with what you've come up with, and just following the research. And it's a great idea.
I think, thank you for that, Matt. It is such a personal and profound experience, and I think we all privatize it way too much. And it's nice to be able to talk about a technology that brings up that struggle. And I think many times you just assume that one of the byproducts of getting treatment is you're going to lose some things, including hair.
Yeah.
So grateful that this product is out here. Justo, do you mind talking about the one thing, and I joke about this at first, but then it's gonna get more challenging, is, there's certain industries that are dominated, right, are very large and hard to navigate. I always mention if you want to start a shoe business, how many shoe companies are out there and how hard it is to break into the shoe industry, right? Well, in your world, there's so many healthcare systems, and they're very complicated. And then you have FDA that you mentioned. How can you talk a little bit about entry into those systems, what you've discovered and what you have yet to discover? Because that's such an ominous industry to kind of break into.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge in terms of getting through, competing against these larger companies that dominate the healthcare field. But I think, fortunately for us, we're kind of in this niche area that hasn't been touched by like J&J and them. There's only, I'm thinking in my head of FDA approved devices 3. So that's still a comfy, or it's in its infancy stages, is kind of the way they put it. So we still have a good chance to being first to market, especially with a device that we think can be disruptive in terms of its treatment continuity that we allow the patients to have. So in that regard, I think it's going to be a little bit easier. We're not in this flooded market, but on top of that, like Brad was talking about, we have to deal with insurance reimbursement. It's not been standardized yet within the scalp cooling industry, and the competitors are working towards that. So I think that'll make entry a little bit easier once it becomes standardized to be reimbursed by insurance. Right now, patients either paying out of pocket or relying on, like they call it like scholarship or grant money from other nonprofit places. So I think that's the other thing that's going to help accelerate the adoption of scalp cooling, is just this standardization of insurance reimbursement. And on top of that, I think one of the big challenges of getting into this is just funding. R&D is one of the most expensive costs of this, for clinical trials, for the research and development, for team expansion, because you're going to need money to pay people to make this even happen. Those kind of 3 things there. I think it's going to help us get into the market, as well as kind of be that barrier, as well as just getting through the insurance, getting through these FDA approval process and stuff.
Can you talk a little bit about the process that you have to go through to produce this device? How does that look? Who are you working with to get that done?
Yeah, so we're not quite at that point where we're kind of looking at our manufacturing options, what
Okay.
we're going to do there, but we kind of have an idea on how this is going to work within their workflow and how the patients are going to get it. So the patient would go to the physician's office. We're working on personalized scalp cooling caps. So the physician there would take specific anatomical measurements of their scalp from the crown of their head to the forehead to the back to the ear, and then from there, it would be inputted into one of their systems where we receive those measurements of that patient's scalp, and we were working on manufacturing like a 3D print or mold of that patient's cap. So we would manufacture that at not again we didn't do any type of research onto who is going to be our manufacturer, but we'd have that printed out and then sent over alongside our cooling system to the patient before the first chemotherapy session.
Would that get you a perfect fit?
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Hey, so I've been, and to Matt's question, I've seen the MAD, board that you've had to work with cooling levels, right? So there's a bit of a mad scientist up in your office. I'll
Yeah.
be honest with you. So as we're nearing the end of the show, I think it's important to ask this question. You started off as a student. You had an idea. And if you could go back and tell yourself what you've learned at this point, what kind of advice would you have for an early young startup now that you've been through a bit of a gauntlet? You have more to go, but what would your advice be?
That's a very good question, Brad. Let me let me take a quick second here.
So people who aren't listening, he's got 3 pages of notes, and I stumped them here.
Gotcha.
Wasn't on the script, guys.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we
I'm just messing with
deviate
ya.
from the script.
I'm just messing with ya. But the one thing that I've brought up in conversation to people that talk about my entrepreneur journey, and this kind of came from Kurt Hirsch at Gannett University, and it's listen to everyone but follow no one, and that's really stuck with me from the first time I heard that, because going through this, you receive so much feedback or comments or suggestions or advice from everyone in terms of how you should do X, Y, and Z. So with that advice, I really just listen to everyone, take their suggestions, their feedback. I'll give it, try it out, see how it looks in terms of our pitch deck or in terms of our proposal, and see if we like it, if it fits, and then kind of make a decision, Evan and I, and go from there. And that's really the best advice. I think that it's not original from me, but it's advice that's been resonating with me, and I tell people that often when they start a business.
Well, being a startup, everything's biting at your ankles. Everything has to be done immediately. But your advice is kind of like buy some patience.
Mm-hmm.
Measure everything.
Take a step back, really think what they're saying because they do have their own experience, and they're saying that advice for a reason because they've gone through something personally. So I just want to give it a try. Maybe it resonates for my situation, but not all the time it does. And then I pick what's best for our situation.
I personally see Erie becoming quite an entrepreneurial town. If somebody was to start a business, what would be your enthusiastic recommendation to engage in the entrepreneurial system?
Here, yeah. So there's about three components have been really integral for us, and that's been the Erie Tech Incubator, SBDC. They've been connecting us to government funding, and then the Beehive Network, where they've built us a professional website. They've done with our logos. So I think between those three support systems in Erie, they can connect you to the right people to then get further funding from like Ben Franklin, the local accelerator programs, angel funds.
Excellent.
Well, we're getting to the bottom half of the hour in the news. Thank you, Justo. Justo Hernandez, CEO and co-founder of Glacier Scalp Cooling. A really great idea. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me
Great
on.
work.
When we come back, we will be speaking with some folks with, what is it, Lake Erie Appliance. We'll be back. Welcome back to Community Chronicles Radio, brought to you weekly by Gannon University's Erie Technology Incubator, in partnership with the Corey Higher Education Council. The Erie Technology Incubator, located at 900 State Street, works in the entrepreneurial ecosystem and provides technical assistance through the entrepreneurial process. This show features members of this ecosystem and the entrepreneurs in our Erie area. So as sometimes happens with a live show, we had a pretty quick cancellation of a guest that was due to come on today, put the call out, and we really appreciate these guests coming in to talk about their products and the things that they're doing. I am happy to introduce our guest for this half hour. Welcome to the show, Matt Bilski.
Hello, how are you doing?
Good, good.
Welcome, Matt.
Morning.
So we like to get to know our guests a little bit. We talk a lot of times that when we start this, your background. Tell us about Matt and your background. Are you an Erie native?
I was originally born down in Virginia Beach. My dad was in the Navy for like 20 years, and then I came up here probably about when I was like 5 or 6, so I'd pretty much been here pretty much my whole life. So, yeah, and I've just been a kind of blue-collar worker forever, working for shops, graduated from Northeast High School, and kind of said one day I'm sick of putting the boots on for somebody else.
That's a commonality with a lot of entrepreneurs. They want to work for themselves. They have the best bosses, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear about your current business. How long have you been operating your appliance store?
Just about a year and a half now. We've been over there at Iroquois Ave. A lot of people know it as like the old Wonder Bread store, the Hostess building.
Okay.
We're right there at Iroquois and Wallbridge. So we're slowly revamping that place, putting some new paint on it and getting it fixed up, and still operating out of it though.
So it's, yeah, Lake Erie Appliance, and you said it a year and a half. So what, we always talk about our processes here. What led you to the idea of opening an appliance store on Iroquois Avenue?
To be honest, it just kind of fell in my lap. I was originally doing liquidation, selling products by the pallet, like Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart, Target. We just bring in truckloads and just sell by the pallet, and people would come in, buy it, and the buy and resell was happening really well because it was during COVID and a lot of people were, home, and so it was a good opportunity for us to kind of get into that business at the time.
I'm glad you brought up COVID because in thinking about your business, obviously restaurants, obviously daycare affected, but supply chain was just shuttered. And one of the things I noticed, because I went to an appliance store during COVID, and I could have played racquetball there. There was nothing around. So tell me how taking on a business like this coming out of COVID, how did that go for you compared to what you saw during COVID?
I wish I would have got started during COVID, knowing what I know now. I'd say, like I said, like when I came out of COVID, like doing the pallets and stuff like that, I kind of went away. It kind of slowed down quite a bit, and so like you got to move or sink, So that's when I was like, what's similar? We got a pallet, it's this big, like, and then I just started thinking like, what can I do to like not take away from the pallets, but still utilize some of this space in here? And I don't know, appliance just popped in my head, and I said, that's gonna work. So
I've had some unusual life history with GE appliance way back, and and some prototyping. So there's all sorts of new things being thought about. Walk us through all the accessories you're starting to see come into the appliance industry, because I'm out of touch, and it would be interesting to hear from you. What are you seeing coming in that you're selling?
One thing is washers without agitators. They have wash plates now. Some people prefer them, some people don't. I'm more of an agitator guy myself. A lot of sensing, like a lot more technology involved. You can really run the machine from your phone these days too. So
get out.
that's interesting to see. You just want to get like a quick dry on your clothes before you get out of bed. You can just do it right from your bed. So that's interesting.
Instead of ironing, you just run it through one more fluff cycle, get it straightened out. That's interesting. I like that.
Like all-in-ones, we've seen those. Those are new, where you just throw them in there and they wash them and dry them. So when you come back, that's
Absolutely
it. There's no
fascinating.
switching clothes. Those are very interesting to watch that happen.
I've seen the sizes change. I live in an apartment, and intentionally just to not have to deal with a house, and the units are getting smaller and smaller. Is that equal, or do you? Because I don't sense any difference in quality from a big washer and dryer to the small apartment version.
I guess it's based on like need of the space, you know. Like if you need it to be like that small, I mean that's fine. But I don't like as far as like the quality of like washing and drying and stuff. I see that it's all like pretty much the same, but just being more compact now. But I mean we mainly are just in the full size for the most part. We do have the smaller stuff, but the full size is still selling like every day.
So, with being a 1.5 year business, you're obviously rolling up your sleeves, and you know customers probably drive by every day. What do they need to know? What is your argument that say, you know what, you better pull in because we got these things here that you don't have right now. You may want to have in your house.
Oh, definitely, because we're like new scratch and dent. So I mean, the prices are definitely significant from the big box stores.
Ooh.
So like a refrigerator that you'd normally spend maybe $3,200 on, we've got priced at like $1,400, and it might have like a small dent inside. That doesn't matter to you. It's going to be slid in anyways. So like being able to capitalize on like the pricing has been huge because there really hasn't been anything like that here in Erie that I was aware of. And we also do use refurbish also. So we kind of have best of both worlds. So the price points are kind of all over the place.
Have you gotten into the repair industry part?
Since we do so much of our own in-house, because we have our own techs and everything, we have our own workshop over there, we're eventually going that direction, but I've been cracking the whip over there and keeping them busy on just pumping out more units because, I mean, like I said, we honestly sell so many appliances. It's actually amazing how many appliances actually get sold in a day. Me, I'm like, I've had the same set for 15 years.
Right.
It's just going to be a good business to get into, and then once the doors open, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, just for the audience, I have your address here, but can you tell everyone where you're at? If I heard Scratch and Dent as a listener, I'd be trying to find out where you are.
Right.
Because their price point is ideal.
Yeah, we're located at 4960 Iroquois Ave, right on the corner of Walbridge and Iroquois. Like I said, a lot of people will be familiar with like the old Hostess building that was there for quite some time. We get that quite a bit. Like, where's the snacks at?
Right.
All the time.
What are your hours?
We're there 7 days a week, Tuesday through Friday. We're there from 10 to 6, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. We are there from 9 to 3.
Great. So, people think, okay, scratch and dent, used and refurbished. Looking at your website, and it looks like there's some security in that even still, if you get a scratch and dent, there's warranties associated with both. Yeah,
absolutely. With our used refurbished, we offer 90 days. Anything happens in 90 days, we'll take care of you. And then with the new scratch and dent, that comes with a year warranty.
Delivery is a logical next question. So go ahead and tell us about that.
Yeah, we deliver. We try to keep it within like 20, 25 miles. We do stretch that once in a while, if we can fit it into the schedule.
And natural next question, emergencies. If somebody needs something right away, can you get it to their house in what time period?
To be honest, when a lot of people come in, they want delivery, we ask them if they want it right now, if they're going home, and we'll follow you most of the time.
Oh, wow.
So that's like, you got to be a little different from everyone, because we're not the only appliance store here in Erie.
Right.
So you got to kind of separate yourself. So, yeah, we do the same-day delivery, and, if you had an emergency, you can give us a call, and we'll get you in the right direction.
The good thing that you have going for you in this space is that the inventory is in-house. We recently, not recently, I guess now it's been a little bit, but we had a house fire. We had to get completely new appliances, and it was, closer to COVID. So we had that time, like, okay, when are you going to deliver this? Weeks out, waiting for the inventory. The model that you have is that this stuff is in-house and ready to go. That's fantastic.
Yep, you can buy it and take it the same day or have it delivered the same day, and if that doesn't work for you, you can schedule out. Usually have 7 to 10 days to come pick it up. So it's like if you're like buying a house and you're closing soon and you just want to go shopping, you can swing by and we can hold it, usually, like I said, like 7 to 10 days.
Yeah, I could see you being available for a lot of people probably on this call right now saying, yep, I've got a problem. I've been putting it off. It's going to break any day now. You can get it today. I'll take care of the problem. So as a business owner, Obviously, I love to talk about entrepreneurs and starting a business. You had a vision. Some people say visions turn into visions of grandeur, and then the reality sets in. Tell us about your early business startup journey. What you're realizing now that's different than what you thought when you had those visions of grandeur.
Like we were talking, or you guys talking earlier, the hours.
Yeah.
That's probably the number one thing I'm sure from entrepreneurs. The hours are a lot longer than you could ever imagine. I'm going to work for myself and I'm going to make all this money and it's going to happen overnight. No, that's not usually the case. But set yourself small goals, achieve those goals, and then set yourself some medium goals and then larger goals as you go along. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Don't set a goal that's so big that it just seems impossible, and then you're going to give up on it. So that's my advice, and where I started and where I'm at now, like just setting the small goals and just make sure you're achieving them. And we also sell parts too.
Oh,
all right.
We actually have an eBay store. So anything that comes in and it doesn't work, we strip them down and we list them on eBay at LEA Parts on eBay. We have our own store.
I was going to ask you about your technology portion. Is your online business driving a portion of your business, and if so, how much of it?
Honestly, we do a little bit of Google marketing and everything, but Facebook has been a great tool for business. Honestly, start yourself a business page. When I started out, I didn't know there was a business page, so I started a regular page and a group, and it was just like, what's going on? And then I figured out, there's a business page out there, and it has lots of great tools to get your business moving forward. You can sponsor some ads and stuff and put it in front of the people that, are looking for your items.
One of the great things about, we look at different mediums, Facebook being one of them. I think that you're in the right space, and it would have been a recommendation I would have made, just simply because of the age of the average person buying appliances are the age that are on Facebook. So with that said, you're using Facebook quite a bit. Have you thought about other mediums, different social media approaches? The younger people like TikTok, and they're the people that are going to be getting married and buying houses, hopefully, not living at mom and dad's, but...
Yeah, we've been throwing around the idea, doing some TikTok videos, just kind of see what direction we want to go with those. You know what I mean? Because you got to entertain the audience a little bit.
You only have a short amount of time because the kid they go quickly.
Yeah.
So grabbing their attention with something is one of the hard parts of that.
We've been using Instagram a little bit more lately than we have. Definitely trying some different social media platforms. I mean, we do have a TikTok, but like I said, we definitely should probably put four more over there.
I could see a selfie fridge.
Yeah.
So from obviously you're moving in the technology front, getting your business out. I mentioned COVID, and so I always think about supply chain, business continuity. How are you dealing with some of the things that were difficult in COVID to prepare for any disruptions in the future, like workforce, supply chain? What are some of those levers? How are you managing those to be available to the community, whether things go up or down? I know it's a tough question, pretty loaded.
Like, what do you mean, like coming out of COVID into like?
Yeah, you've got a supply chain you've got to rely on, right? And you've got a workforce you've got to maintain. So those are tough things when you're a new business. So how are you managing those things?
Hire 100, keep 10. To be honest, that's what we've experienced. But once you do get your 10, make sure you keep your 10, because it's very important, because they are, and like, I don't know, like my employees, I feel like they have the same drive as I do. They want to see it be successful. They want to be part of the build. They want to like see if there's going to be a second location. Like everyone puts in like really, really hard work and network. I can't stress that enough. I tell my kids all the time, I'm like, build your network, put more contacts in your phone. You gotta have a network. No matter if they're digging ditches or selling appliances, it doesn't matter. Have a network. Build that network.
Absolutely. That's kind of how this came to be today, right? We had the last minute cancellation. I went on Facebook and said, hey, I need an entrepreneur in this area to come on the show. Chris Kelly, mutual friend, recommended you, and here we are. So building the network is an important piece.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I always say that 100%. Network is is a big key of being successful.
So I'm going to talk about a trend too. Carbon neutrality and negativity is a big consumer decision point. How are you seeing appliances get more efficient? What kind of products are out there that the consumer that has that as a purchasing priority? How are you meeting that need?
As far as like efficiency, like water usage and stuff like that, and like electricity, like, you know, to the newer appliances are just a little different, so that helps out there. And just like some of the technology too, it's kind of crazy. Like, so we'll use a washer for example. Like, it will add hot water on its own a little bit now. I don't know if anybody knows that, but that helps break down the detergent, because it has to be a certain degree to really break down that detergent, get the clothes clean. Which I had no idea until somebody didn't hook up their hot water and said this thing ain't working. Yeah, but like I'm not the appliance guru at all. I just know how to like manage and like build and team build and stuff like that, so I like hire out a lot for quite a bit of stuff, like, and there's not too many techs. I mean, to find somebody to come and fix an appliance these days, I mean, that's pretty rough, you know. It really is. So once you find a good tech, you hold on to them, and like I said, you find a good team, you hold on to them and treat them fairly, and as long as everyone's got the same goals as, you know, you do in mind, it usually works out in a good favor.
Boy, you've got me thinking. I've got a network for you. We need to talk about it. Based on your point, we should talk about it.
And you know, with Corey High Ed, we do the show, but you know, we work in the workforce, and we recognize certain different types of jobs that it's very hard to find people for. Auto mechanics, airline mechanics, people who have that tech inclination. They are very difficult to find these days.
Have you taken on a role as the business grows where you're training some of your people to get them up to speed, or do they have to come in qualified with what you need them for?
Oh no, we train right there. Like there's I mean, one of my techs, he came in and I've known him over the years and stuff like that, and he's like, I just know a washer washes and a dryer dries, you know. But with technology and everything these days, and YouTube and everything else, I mean, he just grew rapidly. Like, it was insane, and it was actually really, really cool to watch, honestly. Like, he just like knows all the parts, and he can just like look at machines, and when they're running, hear something like, oh, that's this, and changes it. Like,
that's great.
So he's really like handsy, and like I said, we do a lot of training right there. It's not even like you have to have like qualification, because it is a lot of in-house training. You know, like, this is how we do it. And when I hire somebody for something, usually it's hired for everything. You might be selling something 1 minute and delivering something the next. You know, so it's always interesting, and you never know what you're going to be doing day to day, you know, for the most part. So it keeps everyone, you know, entertained, I guess. And
well, you had mentioned, you know, everyone's excited about maybe being in another store. So as the lead to your business, what are some of your plans that you're aspiring to? Because I'd love to hear where people's dreams are. Where are we going next?
Well, I'm kind of a wild man a little bit, so I've actually been leaning towards like different things outside of appliances, just because we have a good crew now. It's not like I have to be there every day. My team can run it. Like, it would be nice to maybe have something on, you know, like in the Mill Creek area, you know, in the future, maybe have something over there, so we can have the East Side, West Side store. But there's other directions I'm thinking about going on. I just don't want
close to the vest.
Oh, you're not ready to give that up.
I'm not ready. Yeah,
we'll have you back when that's up and running.
All right. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah.
So I have one question. You said you're not the tech guru, but you might be able to go back and answer this question. So a lot of the washers now are the front loading style, and we have one. And okay, great, you have this new beautiful washer. One of the problems associated with it is the seal on the front keeps water and gets some mold.
I knew this was coming.
Right? Do you have the solution? Because
yeah, leave the door open.
Well, that's what we've been doing.
And you got to occasionally wipe them out. I'm not like, it's just the moisture just sitting in there. I know what you're talking about. That's usually a common problem. A lot of people that do have the front loaders, they do come in like, I want my top loader back. You know.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them. But honestly,
if you ask my wife, she'd want that thing back.
Honestly, just leave the door cracked. That does help quite a bit, but then I mean, you also just got to keep on the cleanliness, you know, pretty much on a weekly, you know, keep it wiped out.
This is the strongest mold I've ever
Yeah, it will stain that seal for life. Yeah. There's no cleaner out there will get it out.
So I've got a very detailed question like that. It's so funny you're on this. So stinky water. Sticky water. That's my term to. When you want to just clean out the washer, what is the chemical combination you would recommend to get rid of what I call stinky water?
They actually sell tablets you can buy like on Amazon or in like Walmart and stuff like that. And they're for your washers. You just throw them in there by themselves and run a cycle, and it takes care of it all.
Okay, so there's no homegrown combination or mad concoction.
You can always use vinegar, but you know,
That's
might want to run that a couple times.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. That's very helpful.
That vinegar thing. Speaking of that, we use it at one point at my job to like clean the coffee maker. Right, the coffee makers are one of the grossest things ever. Put the vinegar through, and we ran it like multiple times, like you just said. But we still, the first person to get a cup of coffee, it was like this curdled. They put the milk in, and it curdled up because the vinegar was still there. It's so gross. Yeah, you don't want to smell like vinegar with your clothes, I guess.
That's a bad cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, my recommendation is definitely use the tablets. They seem to work really good, and the machine smells real fresh when it's done too.
Yeah, I think we missed one item that's just important too. What appliances are you selling? We didn't ask the most obvious question. What are you selling?
Yeah. What do you?
Well, we got washers, we got dryers, refrigerators, stoves, apartment-sized stoves, dishwashers, microwaves, wine coolers, ice makers, portable dishwashers, portable washers. I'm trying to think what else we have in there.
Did I see a grill? Is there?
We have grills. Sometimes we have e-bikes. Like, it's crazy because a lot of stuff we get is
for
like
the portable
unmanifested.
washer. You need a portable bike, right?
Yeah.
What about smokers? That's like guys. You'll get the guys walking in the store. Women most of the time with the
We do see those sometimes here to here. A lot of the stuff we do buy is unmanifest, believe it or not. So it's like surprise Christmas when we open the door. And we have massage chairs. We sell those. Sometimes,
Yeah, I saw that on the Facebook page.
yeah, they usually sell for like $2,200. I think we're selling them for like $400. So the price difference is huge, and we don't usually hold on to those too long.
That goes great with the wine cooler.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, we have like GE, Maytag, Whirlpool, Frigidaire. We pretty much carry all the
names.
brands.
All the names, yeah.
Mainly right now in Scratch and Dent is our bigger one is GE, but we are getting ready to put the mix in to get the Maytag and the Frigidaire and the Whirlpool out there too, so we can have a variety there.
I know you're going to shoot me for saying this because you're already discounted, but any kind of specialty sales or times a year or things that you want to offer your customers, you're going to say no, but I want to offer
Black
that.
Friday is coming. That's the obvious one, right? People spend a lot of money.
Yeah, Black Friday. We're going to brainstorm some stuff today about a Black Friday sale. But yeah, we still offer discounts on top of our already discount stuff. We also have a military discount that we do,
Sweet.
so that helps out there. And then, like I said, like when we try to get in on like every holiday and stuff like that, like Labor Day sale, save $50 a unit or something, off our already low prices. So yeah, we try to get out there and try to do as many sales as possible too.
Those well-known times when people spend their money.
So they should know if there's a holiday, they should stop by and just see if there's an extra savings they can grab. Perfect.
Yeah. Usually we run for like a week, sometimes two, around the holidays and stuff. So yeah, our key is volume. We try to sell volume. More units, the better. So anything we can do to get people in the right direction for the right price.
Cool. Well, I got to tell you, one of the things we're not focused on is you're a small business. So
Yes, yeah.
Entering into being a small business, you've got accounting challenges, you've got sales challenges. Can you talk about how you put that together to open up your store, put your shingle out?
Yeah, first accounting, I just went ahead and hooked up with somebody local here that does like our payroll for us and keeps track of all our taxes and everything. It's nice to be able to do that like out, not in-house, and have a professional do it. So like everything's, in order. So it is nice having that, option, and it's not expensive as everyone thinks it is. And that's one thing I was going to say too about entrepreneurship too. A lot of people, I feel like, get like scared. Like I didn't do anything till I was 34, but I've been wanting to do things since I was 18. And everyone thinks like, oh, starting an LLC and all this, it's so much stuff. It really isn't. It really, really isn't. So,
the legal piece is, not the most difficult. Even within the network that we have here, you can turn that over for free with Penn State. Their Penn State Legal will get you set up with the right kind of corporation.
Yeah, I was talking to John DeSilva this weekend. Yeah, he said they're still open, they're still helping. So anybody that's looking to start their business, reach out to them.
Yeah, it's actually wonderful. I wish I knew about it.
That's that's kind of the purpose of this show, to talk about the processes that people go through, try to encourage people who may have an idea and let them know that there is an entire network at your disposal that you can just come into for free and go through each of those processes, helping design websites, everything along the way, and they can really get you set up for success. Well, we're coming to the end of the show. It's a fast hour. I appreciate you coming in and on a short notice. It was a great discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having us.
And one more plug. Tell everybody where they can find you and if they're looking for you at Black Friday or any time coming up.
Yeah, we're located at 4960 Iroquois Ave, Erie, 16511.
All right. So one of the things that we've carried over from the show that preceded us is the dad joke of the week. And it was always one of the best parts. Jordan Fuller did a great job with it. So Brad came prepared with it. I usually research this as we're waiting and, in between questions. But Brad brought one today. I think it's a good one. What do you call an angry carrot? A steamed veggie. In comedy, they say they can't always be killers, I guess.
We're here all week.
So, Lath and Tina with the Economic Pulse coming up after this show. Stick around here on Talk Erie. There's always great conversations. The Joel Natale show at 3 o'clock. Tune in for that. A lot going on in the next few days. Joel's going to be busy with the election coming up. So, big, busy time. So, listen to the next show. We'll be back next week. No matter how that election goes, remember to love everyone around you, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.